We're back.
At it again.
Week by week, we'll be plugging away at these things.
Let us know if you get sick of us.
No, don't let us know that. Rate us highly on iTunes. That is all you are allowed to do. Or you can email us at slightyoffcenterpod@gmail.com and give us gift cards and money and all sorts of things. Mail us presents.
We don't have an address to mail presents.
Okay, I would find an address if I thought people were going to mail us presents, but anyhow. Last week we talked about me being a mom with a disability, or as I like to say, un-PC, non-politically correct, gimp mom, or also known as the giant fucking elephant in the middle of the room. So this day, we're going to be talking about what it's like to have a mother with a disability. Take it away, Emily.
Well,
You know I will
having
interject shit.
Yeah, obviously. Having a mother with a disability is just like having any old mother. There we go, end the podcast.
Cut, wrap, no.
I don't know. Growing up, it didn't really feel any different because I didn't really know anything different. I feel like the differences in my childhood versus the differences in like my friend's childhood that came from the fact that you guys were so young when you had me, not the fact that you were in a wheelchair.
Oh, I never thought of that. Yeah, because all your friends' parents were like up to like 10 years older than us, right?
Yeah. I had friends who would come over and they'd be like, Emily, what's wrong with your mom? And I would be like, what the fuck? What's wrong with your mom? And then I would realize that they meant like, because it was so normal for me that you were in a wheelchair, that they would come over and be like, oh my God, she's in a wheelchair.
What the hell?
And then I would have to like explain that, oh yeah, she just sits in the wheelchair, but like she's just like you and I, she just sits in a wheelchair. I mean, I definitely was more independent than my friends. Like, I walked to school, which was unheard of.
Yeah. In our neighborhood, there was like gang violence everywhere. Shootouts on the corners.
I mean, I never saw it because, I mean, I would hope that even gangs would have the moral backbone to not shoot up elementary school kids, but...
I really don't think there were gangs. I was being facetious.
Oh, okay. I mean, we lived in the middle of Ohio. And
Yeah,
yes, we technically
like
lived on the wrong side of the tracks, but it was like, we didn't live in Dayton. We were fine.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like the Gambinos were down the street or, I don't know, mob people.
I definitely had more responsibility than your average child.
Oh, yeah.
Our family friend, Amanda, used to tell me the story about how she remembers when I was 3 years old in my pamper, standing by the stove making oatmeal for myself. And how she
really?
very
I don't remember that.
So I started cooking when I was young.
It was mostly the microwave, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, probably.
I don't think I let you mess with the stove until you were older, but yeah.
Maybe it was the microwave.
It probably was the microwave.
Okay.
That will make me feel a lot better.
All right, it was the microwave. I did laundry for the whole family.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like once I turned like 10, much to my dad's chagrin, because he was like, all right, here's how you do the laundry. Bleach makes everything good. And then I mixed up bleach with OxyClean. So all his like punk rock black shit had bleach stains all over it.
We still have some of those shirts, actually.
But he didn't want to do the laundry himself, so he just went with it.
Do you remember we would like sort through the laundry after it got washed together, and it was like a big adventure to find like the missing socks? No. Do you remember this?
You are so weird. I don't remember this. I remember nothing. Honestly, you probably remember more than I do.
We would do the laundry, And inevitably a sock would be missing from a pair. So we had a sock box.
That I remember. Yes.
You remember the sock box?
Yeah.
That resulted from these laundry escapades. Sock box got quite full, and no matches were ever found.
Because there's a little blue man who lives in our dryer who would steal the socks.
Yes.
In our household growing up, if anything went wrong, it was the little blue men who lived on the roof who were responsible.
Or the werewolf on top of the house across the street.
Yeah. I definitely did more housework than your average child, probably because my dad was busy taking care of you and working a full-time job, so he was like, my dad's favorite phrase growing up was, I don't need a dishwasher, I have two. Their names are Emily and Raven.
And yes, you did a lot of dishes.
And that's transferred into adulthood because when I asked him what his retirement plan was, he said, I have two 401ks. Their names are Emily and Raven.
He said that?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we are moving in your garage someday, probably.
Oh, our garage?
Well, that's the only way I can get into your apartment.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
live in your garage. I'm sure that would be totally up to code.
It'd probably be way too cold for you.
That's true. I'd have like 8 space heaters. And I would set your garage on fire because I would overload the circuit.
You have renter's insurance.
Oh, well, there you go.
I do remember in elementary school, I would come home during recess. I got special permission to come home because we lived 5 blocks from the school, and I would make you White Castle burgers for lunch.
Really? I ate burgers?
You had White Castle burgers every day for lunch.
Oh, wow, that's healthy.
And then I would walk back to school.
Do you remember the one time that I got a new wheelchair, and my new wheelchair had a special tilting feature? And I'm like, oh, I'm tired. I feel like taking a little nap. So I tilted back, and my arm slid off my controller. So I couldn't untilt my wheelchair. So do you remember this? Do you remember what happened? I called your school and spoke to the principal. And I said, this is Emily's mom. I am in a bit of a predicament. And I explained to her what happened and asked if you could come home to help me real quick, which she said was fine. But the whole conversation, you could hear her trying really hard to not laugh because it was just so weird getting called up. I am stuck in my wheelchair. Can you send my little kid home to help? Yeah. So yeah, you were my little helper that walked home special from school.
Yeah, and that would have never flew. No.
You were not shot once.
Nope, not once. Not even a little.
You weren't even kidnapped.
No.
Yeah.
Although there was one time when I was walking to school where there was a guy sitting on a stoop in a kilt, and he definitely wasn't wearing underwear under it.
Ew. Ew.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm emotionally scarred.
I definitely think that I was probably a little bit more motherly to Raven than I would have been if you had been I don't want to say able-bodied, but not in a wheelchair.
A not cripple?
Yeah, but I think that's also just because I was an asshole child and I was like, I'm going to be the mother figure.
Oh God, I remember this.
It
was like a constant battle with you.
I treated Raven like she was my child.
Or slave, depending on the day.
Well, I mean, you slaved me out, so I was just following.
Yeah. You were handing it down the line. You're like, oh, Mom yelled at me, I'm going to go yell at Raven. Poor Raven. No defense. But yeah, you were a lot like Raven's mother.
I think because you guys had me so young, I was kind of treated as a person a lot younger than most kids are. Raven and I were always usually the only kids at any kind of gathering because you guys made our lives revolve around your life, not the other way around. So
what are your opinion on that? What's your
No, I think it's better because there are a lot of kids today where their parents are slaves to their schedule. But if we were like at a dinner party with your friends and we were tired, Dad would be like, "All right, go to sleep. There's couches, there's blankets."
Yeah. I remember we took you to like several concerts when you were a baby.
Okay, well, I had no say in that.
But you are correct. You were just treated like another family member for the most part.
I never really called people like Mr. and Mrs. I just called them by their first names, which looking back on it might have been a little rude, but you know what? It worked.
And a lot of them were kind of like, call me this.
Yeah.
I mean, if someone was like really, I should be called Mrs., I would make sure you called them Mrs. But for the most part, I don't know, in a weird way, I think a lot of, probably because you did so many chores and had responsibilities, I think a lot of people viewed you as a little adult.
Yeah.
And I think in a way you viewed yourself as a little adult because of that, which kind of led to some problems
It's a
occasionally.
double-edged sword.
Yeah, it really is. But you're right. If we were somewhere, I very rarely think we ever got a babysitter. We just like kind of dragged you around wherever we went for the most part.
Which I think was good.
I mean, you definitely saw the full span of the world, at least our world, which I guess.
Yeah, the span of Southern Ohio.
Ooh, look at this vast oasis of possibility.
I think there was the aspect of other kids' parents.
Yes,
Either
I'm curious.
all they did was compliment us, meeting me and Raven, on how well behaved we were,
You were very well behaved kids.
or they would like take pity on me and be like, "Oh, honey." And they would like drive me places when no one when like mom or dad were like, "Oh, you can walk." Or they would help me do things that you guys wouldn't let us do. But that wasn't because you were in a wheelchair, it was just because you were strict AF.
Yeah, we were really strict.
I remember when I was like, I want to say 10, maybe 13, you and Dad had forbidden me from reading Harry Potter.
Oh my god, I remember this.
So I like sneakily went to the library and got these books, and I would hide it in my underwear drawer, and I was convinced that you guys knew. And we went to visit my great grandma when my grandma was living with her, and I brought the book with me, and I was reading it. And grandma knew, but she didn't tell anyone because, she's the real MVP like that. And then my uncle came over, and I made a joke about Voldemort. And then I was like, oh shit. I just made a joke about Voldemort. He's gonna know I
outed
know who that
myself.
is, and then he's gonna tell my parents, and then I'm gonna get in trouble. It never happened. I honestly think the hardest part of growing up wasn't the fact that you were a cripple. It was the fact that you guys were
We were extremely strict.
like everything was black and white. Either it was wrong or it was right. That rhymed.
Could be wrong. Could be.
And I think that shaped me into the rule follower I am today.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
I still don't feel like a full adult. I feel like I don't have control of my time. I feel like even though like it is Sunday and I could have literally done anything I wanted, if I like decided to sit on the couch and binge watch Game of Thrones, I felt guilty because I wasn't making food or at the gym or cleaning my bathroom or blah 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 blah. But that
Doing
also,
the laundry.
yeah. Oh, I have to switch my laundry. Thanks for reminding me. And I think this all kind of goes into when I was a teenager. It was a little bit more complicated because I had so much responsibility and was treated as an adult. When I became a teenager and went through all the like regular teenage selfishness, I feel like it was a bigger deal than it would have been if I was in a typical household.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I feel like you and Dad kind of took it personally. Like, we created this perfect adult child, and now she's being selfish and a teenager.
What has happened to our young, beautiful, compliant child?
And I think
Well, I mean, a lot of parents have
being a
that.
teenager.
A lot of parents are like that, though. What happened to my child?
And I think also I was annoyed because when I was a teenager, Raven was going through we were 4 years apart, and it was very obvious that you guys had loosened the reins with her.
Yeah, a little bit.
And I was really mad about it because I was like, why does she get to do this and blah blah blah.
I don't know though, because you got your Simba moment at 16.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I've talked to Dad. For those of you who don't know, the Simba,
Yes.
basically, when I was 16, my dad stood me up on a chair and was like, "You have no rules. You can do what you want." And I was like, "I'm still going to follow all the rules you gave me because I'm a rule follower." But that's because Raven and I were very different.
Oh, yes.
You guys gave me rules and I broke them, I felt bad. When Raven saw rules, she was like, I'm going to jump over this rule and then jump back under the rule and kind of do what you guys want me to do, but not really.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, yeah. And I think there's also a degree when I was a teenager of balancing being your friend, but also being your daughter.
Yeah.
I think at least it didn't happen with mine and Dad's relationship because that was also around the time that we moved from Ohio to Maryland, and I kind of resented him for
We were
moving
all
us,
bitter.
even though it was the best thing for me. But when I was a kid, I was like, you moved me from all my friends, blah, blah, blah. So I think we got closer during that time, and the lines between you being my mom and being my friend kind of blurred. So that was both good and bad.
Yeah, I mean, makes our relationship stronger, but at the same time, it like kind of messes up the balance of the universe.
And also add into that Raven and I were doing a lot more caretaking than we did when we were younger.
Yeah.
And that's just it's complicated.
Yeah.
When
It
you
is very complicated.
when you add in the family relationship, but you're also caretaking and cleaning, but like you're like clean your room and I'm like, but I already cleaned your room today. You can't walk and clean your room.
Well, between the like you felt, oh God, why do I have to deal with all this stupid shit? Like I have to clean up my mom's toys, or I have to make dinner, or we won't eat. Or did you ever like think like really bad thoughts like that? I guess they weren't that bad.
I mean, I
You know, I had
remember there
bad
was
thoughts
one
and
time you were like, Emily, come pour my beer. I think the thing I resented and still do to this day is when instead of like talking to me and asking me to do something like face to face, you text me. That pisses me off beyond belief. Like, I lived in your house for 6 months when Wes and I moved back to DC, and we'd be like in the living room or in the kitchen, and I would just get a text, like a group text to me and Wes, and it would be like, can you pull on my arm? And I'm like, Mom, you're right there.
well, your dad doesn't like me to scream across the house.
Like, I don't know, use your arm, move your wheelchair, and come partake in social activity.
No. I like to be in my nice warm room.
That is something we will always be angry about.
Well, I mean, but did you ever like get angry at me needing something?
I mean,
And
obviously, that's
or
just a part of human nature.
I know, but then like get angry about me needing something and then feel guilty you got angry. Like,
I think,
'cause
yeah, when I was a teenager, but now that I'm
right,
adult and have been to therapy and that kind of stuff.
I sent you to therapy.
No,
I made you go to therapy. Ah.
anxiety. That's why I went to
Yeah,
therapy.
I know.
And yes, you could argue that you are the reason for that because it's a genetic disorder.
Yeah.
But I mean, all feelings are valid as long as you don't harp on them and move on. You're fine.
Right. I mean, it's not like you're like, oh, mom is always asking me to clean The kitchen, I think I'm going to stab her to death.
Yeah, no, I don't think it ever got to that.
Yeah, okay.
Because I'm not a serial killer. Because even though you and Dad had your faults, I'm still perfectly okay.
Yes, somehow you survived.
And I do think as an adult now, there are situations where sometimes I feel like the parent to you.
Well, part of that is because I act like a child.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think it's because of your disability. I think it's because you just
choose to act like a child.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a case in point. I don't know. This didn't happen so much with you, I don't think. But with Raven, I know I would be like at the grocery store and I'd be like, oh, I want to get these Hershey bars or I want to get this ice cream. And she would always be like, Mom, you already got your dessert for the week. Pick one. Yeah, I mean, that's a typical conversation.
Or like balancing the fact that now I live closer to you than I did in New York, but also being like, Mom, I'll see you like maybe once a month. I'm not going to spend every waking moment that I have free with you.
Yeah.
All right, Mom. What's your
Forever alone.
thorn?
My thorn for this week is that I'm about to lose my job. My related rose is that I'm about to lose my job.
The job
truth
you
be
hate.
known, I hate my job, but I am stubborn. So
For the record, she's going to lose her job because she finished all the work that she had to do, not because she was like a bad employee.
No, in fact, I was too good of an employee is basically what it boils down to.
Yeah.
Because I did the work twice as fast as they were anticipating.
Mm.
And now they hate me. But anyways, how about you, Em?
My thorn is that on Friday I went out to happy hour and the service was terrible. It was so packed. And I got this drink and I was like, ooh, it's pretty. Let me take a picture of it. And then it tasted like Dawn dish soap, so I had to send it back.
Ew.
And also, it was in Old Town, Alexandria, so it was, of course, expensive. So it was,
Hella expensive.
and I mean, like, I normally like that area for like every now and then because we've been celebrating Wes's promotion this weekend. So it was like, all right, yeah, let's go to happy hour with our friends. But I was pissed because we paid a lot of money, which it's DC, you always spend that amount of money, but it was annoying because it was not worth it. And also, we got a ticket because Wes had overparked by like 4 minutes of the 2 hours.
Oh, I like a traffic, or not a traffic thing, what are those called? Parking meter.
Yeah, he like it literally like it was up at 6:29 and he got the ticket at 6:33.
Wow.
But it is the end of the month, I guess, so.
So, like, the cops are just standing around there waiting?
Probably, I don't know. But always the optimist. Parking tickets in Alexandria are only $40. In New York, they were 95.
Oh, wow.
But my rose is that we also spent a lot of money last night and went to this restaurant in Mosaic District called Bar Taco, and I think it's a chain. I think it's in other parts of the US, but
Sounds familiar.
it's a smaller chain. There's one in Reston. There's about to be one in Boston, but it's really good. And they like their cocktails are like, like DC price cocktails, so like $10 to $13.
Yeah.
But they taste like you can tell, you watch the guy, he freshly makes it. They're really good. And then the food itself isn't that expensive because like the tacos are like $3.50 a taco or something like that. And I mean, at least me, I only need like 3. And then, so it was really nice. And we went with one of our friends and it was a good time. And
Yeah. And apparently Wes got a promotion.
Yeah, his planned promotion.
Oh, okay.
This is the last one.
The last one?
Well,
He'll never get promoted again?
No, he will, but it's the last automatic promotion.
Oh, okay. Now he has to earn it.
I mean, he does earn it by being there. When he signed up for the job he currently has, part of the deal was that you would get a promotion every year for the first 5 years.
Damn.
Yeah.
That would be a rose. Holy shit.
So now we can pay off the wedding.
Yay! Although it's almost paid off, isn't it?
Yeah, the wedding's almost paid off.
Yeah.
As to our debt from New York, that's a different story.
Dead. Yeah, I'm happy about possibly not having a job, but not happy about paying the bills when I don't have a job.
You'll figure it out. You always do.
Yeah. We'll be poured out, but it will be alright. So, yeah. So, apparently, being the daughter of a cripple didn't fuck you up that much.
Nope.
Even though doctors seem to think you're going to spontaneously be in a wheelchair for no reason.
I mean, it's possible. You never know.
Well, yeah, you could get hit by a bus, but you're not going to get spinal muscular atrophy. Surprise! Here it is. Here's your electric wheelchair. Have fun.
Surprise! We match, Mom.
Yeah! Well, I don't think I mentioned this when we were talking about we had our infamous meeting of the spouses episode, but I remember your dad just assumed that any kids we would have would be in wheelchairs too.
Oh, wow.
Until I explained it to him. But he goes, yeah, I imagined you rolling along and our kids rolling behind you like little ducks. And I just thought that was the cutest image ever.
Sorry to disappoint you.
No, yeah, you did ride on my wheelchair on the back a lot.
That's true.
You were like a hitchhiking duck. Wow, that analogy just doesn't go very far. All right. Well, we have been at this for a while, and I think we can call it, unless you have more to add.
Oh, no, I'm good.
So, anything you would like to tell the listeners?
No.
No? Yes. Email us at slightly-off-center-pod
with all your questions
at gmail.com, and we may or may not answer you in a may or maybe not nice way. And subscribe on YouTube, on iTunes. If you want to subscribe on YouTube, you can do that too, but iTunes is where it's at. And write us nice reviews.
And if you follow us on Instagram, I have been posting cute pictures of our lives
to go with our little stories. And they are very cute. I'm curious as to what the picture is going to be this week.
We'll figure out something.
Emily running a sweeper and getting electrocuted. Alrighty. Until next time, ma'am.
Bye.
Bye.
Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at Slightly Off Center Podcast. You can also find us on Patreon and give us shit tons of money,
so we don't have to cam or sell an organ.
Also under Slightly Off Center Podcast. And if you need any advice, beauty, life tips,
we're probably not the people's ass.
But you can still send us an email at slightly-off-center-pod@gmail.com. Thanks for listening!